Can you believe it? 3 episodes in. Here we go. Role Models. That is the name of the podcast. My name is Jarrod Walsh, and the idea behind the podcast is to talk to some pretty elite people who are known for doing elite things in the spotlight. I'm talking athletes, media performers, businessmen and women, and entrepreneurs. But what we may not know about them is the incredible things they're doing behind the scenes to really make the world a better place. In episode 2, I spoke to one of my idols from Fox Sports, Adam Peacock, and I was amazed because I'm a media nerd, but Adam revealed that he doesn't use an auto cue, one of the things you're supposed to read to make it look like you know what you're doing on television.
I dislike it because it takes away that dynamic, and I reckon it adds a layer between yourself and the viewer.
I'm still in shock hearing that. He doesn't use an auto cue, and I mean, any media people listening would go, wow, he's such an amazing presenter, and he just does it so naturally, which is why my man crush has gone up tenfold. The other reason I love Adam Peacock so much is because he's raised so much money for a really special cause. Run the Beaches for Hannah. He did it with 9 of his mates at the Northern Beaches in Sydney, trying to help a girl communicate with a mother.
It's a pretty damn rough card that she's been dealt, really rough. And Katrina as well, the single mum who's a wonderful, wonderful human being. So I thought, now stuff this, let's raise some money.
And raise money, they certainly did. They easily got over their target of $25,000. They had a lot of people watching the big run at the Northern Beaches of Sydney as well, including my father-in-law who kind of stalked Adam, but that's totally fine. I would love for you to hear his story and also the story about Hannah and Katrina in episode 2 of Role Models. Let's do it. Time for episode 3. I'm ready for this one. Hey, the other thing I learned about these podcasts is because I'm so used to talking on a microphone on radio, I project my voice, I talk very formal, I just need to chill out a little bit, which is exactly what I got to do with my guest on episode 3. But it's not really a subject that you can chill out talking about because Jenni Screen is a former Olympian, a Commonwealth Games gold medalist. She's been to World Championships and played professional basketball for over a decade. But she's now a sports scientist focusing on the transition elite athletes make after sport. Anxiety, depression, financial issues. Do they struggle? What are they going to do? And most importantly, how is Jenni going to educate people about the transition these athletes need to make back into the real world? Let's get into it. Episode 3 of Role Models, Jenni Screen. This is an honour because Jenni Screen, I used to go to WNBL matches and watch you play for the Adelaide Lightning, and you were my favourite player for the women's side here in Adelaide. So to be able to talk to you now as adults is like a dream come true. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jarrod. I think you're lying a little bit there, but I will take it nonetheless.
Well, I wanted to quickly talk about your basketball career, and I don't want to take too much of your time up, and then we'll focus on the really important issues here. Not saying your basketball career is not important, of course, because you went to a couple of Olympic Games, Commonwealth gold medalist, you got the gold medal at the World Champs in Brazil, and you've done a fair bit. Did you ever think, growing up, young woman from New South Wales, that you would be able to accomplish so much? No,
I don't think I did, and nor do I think anyone around me that was close or even from afar would think what I did was possible. Like I said, when I retired on my speech, I said I got every drop and ounce out of my body possible, and yeah, I'm so proud of what I achieved, but more so the relationships I built and the character and the skill set, I guess, I carry on with me for the rest of my life now.
What I love doing is talking to people that I'm really passionate about and a fan of, like yourself. So it means I don't have to do much research, but I always have a look at funny things that are put on Wikipedia just to see if you've edited your own Wikipedia page or if it's your agent or something. And it says here, when you went over to Italy and you played for Parma, if you go on the Italian Google, it says one of the first search results is you showing off your basketball skills.
Must be. I don't know. I actually went to a talk recently with Baseball Australia, and they brought up Wikipedia and said that I was the stealth person or stealth-like kind of person in basketball. I said stealth. I said I'm not quiet or anything or quick or anything like that. It must be like I'm a sniper. I must kill people or something. I don't know whether that's a positive or a negative, but I'll take it none the same that someone's taken the time out of their day to write something about me. So, yeah, but no, look, Italy was a great experience for me, and I wish I could go back there tomorrow, to be honest.
Hey, do you take time to reflect on your career and consider yourself lucky because of the era that you played in? I know that women's basketball has been such a dominant sport in Australia, and I guess I can feel a lot of frustrations through elite women's sport right now because of the coverage that AFLW is getting. Now, I understand that it's something new, something shiny, and something that a lot of women are looking into, but there have been some powerhouse leagues around. I mean, the WNBL for so long was so dominant. If you think of women's netball and even women's soccer now, to have this sport which is potentially taking away some players from basketball, do you look back and go, we're actually lucky the era that you played in?
Oh, look, I do consider myself very lucky. Gratitude is something that I always try and think about every day. And I was very fortunate to play with some of the best players to ever have played the game of women's basketball in Lauren Jackson, Penny Taylor, Christy Harrower. Rachel Spawn, a South Australian who was very much a role model for me. But in saying that, like it is a good topic of conversation at the moment. And I just love that women's sport and women in general are getting a bit of attention rather than men that play sport as well. And if it's AFL, if it's Cricket Australia, then so be it. I am also like to remind people that the Women's National Basketball League has been around for over 30 years. It was on TV, live to free TV for over 25. And we've been paying our players for, upwards of almost 20 years for the majority of the people on the team. So I think we were almost pioneers for women in sport in Australia. And yes, whilst it's not nice to see at the moment, we don't get the media attention that we would like. I think we're all heading in the right direction in women's sport, and I wish that I had the AFL backing us, and I wish we had Cricket Australia, which had revenue that was privately funded, not government streamed, which Basketball Australia runs under. But unfortunately, that's the reality of what it is. But I think we need to watch this space, and I only hope that next year things will be bigger and better for basketball.
Well, I hope so as well. I mean, you see a player like Susie Batkovic who wins consecutive MVPs in the WNBL, and it doesn't make the back page of the newspaper, which it really should. The last question I wanted to ask you about women's basketball is there an element of concern going if we're not getting the free-to-air TV coverage, if any TV coverage at all, and hopefully there's a streaming service which can do it. I mean, we need basketball in South Australia and Australia to continue growing, mainly due to the success of the Opals as well at every Olympics and every Commonwealth Games and every World Championships.
Yeah, look, I don't think we need to be too concerned. I think we need to use these other sports and franchises as examples of that you actually have to probably commit a bit more money to actually see an outcome. And for so long, we were fortunate to have the ABC broadcast our games free. But now that's, it's different. And but in saying that, I'm excited for the future of women's sport. I think basketball is a great sport. You can cross over so many platforms, and I'm honoured that basketballers are able to step into another sport like football and easily slot in with not looking like too out of their comfort zone. To me, that shows and displays the skill sets required to play the game that is basketball.
I mentioned that you played in a really interesting and amazing era of women's basketball here over in Adelaide. Do you think in 2017, in the politically correct world we live in, you would be able to represent a team called the Adelaide Fellas, which you did for a little while when the team changed their name?
That is true. We did. Oh, my goodness. That's bringing back a little bit of history. Hey, look, if people are willing to put money on the line and if that's a business and that's what they were called, and Fellas is a gift shop very well known in South Australia, then so be it. I don't care. I mean, I think you play more so for the name of the city and the people standing beside you than for the name that's in the middle. Yes, you want to represent them just as importantly, but, hey, if people are willing to commit to women's sport and contribute, I will wear that name on my forehead if I have to.
It was so funny, though, because you're going to something like a back-to-back game and you're telling your mates, I'm going to go watch the Fellas and then I'm going to go watch the 36ers. And they'd go, but wait, the 36ers are the Fellas, aren't they? No, the women are the Fellas. And they'd go, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, so true. But that was a long time ago. Oh, the good old days. It's good to reminisce, isn't it?
Well, let's talk about these days right now. And I've been really lucky to speak to a couple of really special people so far in this podcast, and yourself included have been so generous to give their time. And the reason why I'm doing this podcast is to talk about the things people have done in the spotlight, which we've covered yourself and also your partner Neil, who's done amazing things, and that must have been so difficult as well for you guys to commute all around the world to maintain a relationship. But then what you're doing off field at the moment and off the court is amazing, because you are talking really openly and honestly about the transition going from elite sport into the real world. And what I wanted to do is throw some questions or potential myths at you, and I think I do know the answers, but for the people listening now, they may not know the answers. For example, once you leave elite sport, whether it's yourself playing in Europe or playing here in Adelaide, a lot of people assume that, you know what, your professional sporting career is over, therefore you can just sit back, roll around in your superannuation and probably just live off the rent from your 19,000 houses that you own, which completely isn't the case, is it?
No, I'll throw some data at you. I'm a sports scientist, so I like black and white and I like doing research. And there was a study I came across the other day, and it refers to the NCAA and the college system and all sports across that program. But only 1% of people that go to college go on to represent at a professional level. And that means when we say professional, we mean they derive an income. Now, there would be over 240 Division I basketball colleges in America. That's only Division I. We're not talking Division II. So that just shows you, in one sport alone, the small percentage of people that actually get the opportunity to derive an income from their sport. And that's the reality. And in saying that also, if we look at both men or women's, yes, we always get the high-profile players that look like they earn a lot of money, but there's also the rest of the team and the other players that don't have that attention and can't derive that income. And at the end of the day, when we do retire, we either, one, have done really good and put super away, because a lot of players actually don't get super, or clubs will say they're paying super and they don't actually play super, which is very common than not. And at the same time, you get the others, food for thought, in terms of people get money given to them at such a young age that they don't know what to do with it. So they, excuse my French, but they piss it up the wall. And before they realise it, they're back at the bottom of the food chain and trying to work out how to live again. It's a pretty scary place to be.
I read this interview from Shaquille O'Neal, the NBA Hall of Fame champion, and he said that with his first contract, when he signed initially with the Orlando Magic, he went and spent $1 million in a day. And he went and bought a car for himself, went home, and his dad said, well, buy me a car, went and replicated that car. Then he bought his mother a car, loaned people money and all this other stuff, which I think... I'm such an NBA fan, you get a distorted sense of reality, and you bring it home to something like the A-League here in Australia. We have players now who are playing the top-level sport in Australia. They're starting on the field. They are playing alongside people, say, like Tim Cahill would be earning $1 million a year. And these players are on scholarships who are earning $26,000 a year, and they still have to put in the exact same hours, the exact same mindset, and the exact same commitment. At the end of the year, they may be told that their dream is over. And I wanted to ask you about the anxiety. I was talking to a friend, it was only 2 nights ago, and she's played international hockey for Australia, and she's freaking out because she has to step into the real world. And she's not used to that. She's scared of what the future holds, because all of her friends have been studying, have been in full-time jobs, have built up their career. And it's almost like that fear of going, I have to start again from zero. Yeah,
you do. I mean, it's almost like your second career. And there is a lot of anxiety around it. The hardest thing and what we're seeing trending now with athletes is that the only source of, I guess, exhilaration and all those type of things and worth in society is your identity as an athlete. So for a long time, for me personally, if we go to that level, I was Jenni the basketballer, and there was this anxiety and fear around me. If I didn't have that, then I wouldn't have friends and no one would care about me and all that kind of stuff. And that's really hard to let go of and realise that you are someone, or you are a person without the sport. You're just very lucky that the hard work and whether it's natural or not, that gave you the opportunity to play sport and be put in that profile. But remove that, you're still the same person. And it's very hard for athletes to come to grip with that, because they do associate their worth with their identity in sport. And that's something that I think needs a lot more attention, that we need to realise that we are greater than just our sport. And whether we row a boat or kick a ball or shoot a basketball, that's just your job. That's something you do. And the earlier we can ingrain that into people, that having a bilateral kind of system in terms of focusing on multitasks is going to actually enable us, one, to play better, but then two, set us up financially and more strategically for when sport is no longer there. And that next identity.
I saw on Twitter yesterday, Isaiah Thomas, who plays for the Boston Celtics, who played in the All-Star game this year, his quote under his Twitter profile says, "If I'm only known for being a good basketballer, then I'm failing at life," because he wants to be known as a good human being as well. I wanted to ask in relation to that, do you think the public, we just are naturally a little bit naive and probably too voyeuristic? Because if John in accounts suffered from anxiety and went to the extreme of taking his own life, it definitely wouldn't get the coverage of someone like former Wallaby Dan Vickerman, or what Grant Hackett's going through at the moment. But this is something which comes with being in the spotlight, and a lot of people fail to understand that you guys are real people going through real issues, no more or no less than any other normal person, so to speak.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really important point, that we are no more than every other person that walks this earth. We're exactly the same. We are just given an opportunity, whether we like it or not, a platform through the media to be able to be a voice for those that don't have it. And I think the more we speak about it, and the more we talk about mental health and anxiety and depression and all those type of things, and transitioning, we can talk about a high school students that's transitioning from going into university and not knowing what they're going to do next, and all those type of things. I think that's really important. And I don't think there's any difference with the mental health that happens in sport to the person that might wipe the floors, be a janitor at a school. I think they're exactly the same. And the more we realise that and understand that, and get a crossover for athletes to realise that, because studies will show you that athletes generally on the scale of depression, anxiety will be a lot higher, and they use sport as an outlet to either, one, cover that up or assist with those behaviour patterns that are happening. So once sport's gone, they actually come to the surface again. I think mental health is number one. And then transition, once we understand that, we're aware of it, we can see what provokes us, what entices us to go down that path. And once we become aware of who you are as a person, I think the transition and what your skill sets are will set you up a lot better. But I think mental health across the board is important.
I find it fascinating when people who have lived their lives in the spotlight encounter issues, whether it be personal issues in regards to mental health, or they get into trouble with the law, because I think there's two mindsets for people outside of the spotlight viewing in, and it's either initial shock because it goes, wow, I can't believe this could happen to someone that I've looked up to and someone who is so perfect in my eyes. And then the second feeling is it almost humanises them to go, holy shit, this person is a real person as well. And it almost brings you closer to them to go, it's actually makes me think that everybody goes through issues. But something I found as a man as well, and I'm a very emotional and honest man, and I'm always happy to talk about anxiety and emotions that I go through. Men still struggle to talk about it, and men still find it really difficult to step out and go, I have issues and I need help. When they do, they feel liberated, but it's actually trying to stop that barrier and remove the stigma of being afraid to talk about going through real things. Oh,
absolutely. I had the privilege of speaking at a summit recently with a non-profit organisation called Crossing the Line, and it was talking about athlete transition and the male athlete and then the female athlete. And the men said, we don't talk about our emotions. What are emotions? We're men. We're not meant to. We're supposed to be stoic and proud and all those type of things. But like I said before, it only takes one person, and then another person, and then another person. And then at the same time, I think we also need to create awareness with our organisations and our coaches that this shit is real. And your players that you demand so much of on a level of skill, you need to give them the time on a level of mental capacity and emotional level, because that is often going to make them a better player and also a better person. You know, I talk about anyone in life and not just athletes. I think in life, the only things that people want to feel is to feel valued and feel skilled. And that goes in the sporting world as well. If we can make people feel comfortable in their environments from an organisational point downwards, that only allows them to feel trust enough to be able to speak up. And it comes from the top down. I think athletes at the bottom of the food chain, to be honest. I think, they cop a lot. They're forgotten about very quickly, and organisations and all those type of things move on very quickly. But the sooner we can create those environments where there are mentors around, like myself or other people that have walked in their shoes, I think there's an assimilation. It gives people a little bit more confidence to put their hand up and go, hey, I think I need a little bit of help. And knowing that it's okay not to be okay.
Jenni, I want to ask you just finally, as we wrap up the Role Models podcast, episode 3, the term role models, I ask every one of my guests what their feelings are in regards to the term role models. Now, I know that you, during your playing career, I'm sure you were referred to one by many fans and many people in the media, and now I think you're probably doing more of a role model with your work outside of sport. How do you look at that term?
Look, I just take it as an opportunity. Do I classify myself as a role model? Look, I didn't even classify myself as an athlete. I was very lucky and surrounded myself with good people and I was ready when opportunities came. But in saying that, after 17 years playing basketball, I think it's ultimately an opportunity for me to pay it forward. And maybe be that role model. Do I get it right? Do I say the right things? Does it mean I don't step off the white line and screw up occasionally? Absolutely not. I'm, like you said before, I'm just as human and normal as everyone else. And I don't think for one second that I am up higher than the person standing next to me. But I will use this platform to be able to speak to great people like you and make people realise that do sit on the couch and easy criticising or, maybe support players, that they are human and they do have feelings and they're more than just their sport and they're people too. And the more we can realise that, I think it will create for a better environment for all.
How do we get in touch with you via social media, Jenni Screen, if we have people listening who are struggling to make that transition, or they want to see you at your next speaking function, or just want to have a chat if you put yourself available? There are ways via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, things like that? Absolutely.
Jenni Screen 9 at Instagram, and Jenni Screen I'm on Twitter. Crossing the Line, I'm also an ambassador for them. So, all it takes is an email or a shout out, and I assure you that I will be on the other line. So, take the time. And it's okay not to be okay, but just don't unpack and stay there.
One of the most pleasing things is talking to someone who you grew up loving, watched do amazing things in their chosen field, but having a chat to you afterwards and seeing the amazing things you're doing in the community now. And it's something which we're going to hear a lot more about as well. So, Jenni, thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat. I really appreciate it. We could talk about this for so long as well, and I really encourage everybody to look at crossing the line and look into these real issues as well. It's something I'm really passionate about, and it's an honour to have you on my podcast. So thank you so much for your time, Jenni Screen.
Thank you, Jarrod. I appreciate the opportunity.
It's such an important issue to talk about as well. Most of my peers and close friends are elite athletes, and topics like depression, anxiety, and making that transition into the real world, these are real problems that these guys are going through. So it's really good to get some awareness from Jenni Screen. There you go. Episode 3. Thank you so much for listening. Over the past couple of weeks, I've got some really good feedback as well. I don't want to get too specific, but people like Liam and David and Fiona, not only have you said that you really enjoyed listening to the podcast, but you've also recommended some people for me to speak to, which is what this is all about. Spreading positivity, chatting to really influential people that we may know for stuff they do in the spotlight, but let's talk about the other positive things they are doing in the world. So if you did enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up on Stitcher, give it a rating on iTunes, and you can share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all this other stuff. And I can't say too much, but I have confirmed some pretty amazing people. I mean, more amazing people over the next couple of episodes as well. And to say that I'm excited and grateful and blessed, even people say blessed, don't they? Well, it's an understatement because I'm so fortunate to be speaking with them. So you'll find out who in episode 4 and 5. I really appreciate you taking the time to have a listen. Role Models episode 3, we're done.